Technology is there to make life and tasks simpler, easier, more efficient. But anyone who's ever had to set up their own home entertainment system might just beg to differ. In tonight's episode, I'm going to take you through the basic components of a home entertainment system. There are an awful lot of options, but hopefully by the end of the show, we'll have a working system. But before we get to that, let's catch up with the state of South Africa's tech nation. Hlengiwe spoke to the Deputy Minister of Telecommunications and Postal Services and filed this report.
South Africa turned on its very first television set in 1976. That's a whopping 30 years after the rest of the world. But once information and communication technology was brought to the people, this country went on to create one of Africa's most successful ICT industries. But with other African countries snapping at our heels, we're going to have to work hard to stay on top. South Africa's ICT infrastructure has enabled local companies to become world contenders, particularly in mobile software and electronic banking, with services such as prepayment, revenue management and fraud prevention systems having their roots in SA soil. Set-top units such as decoders are also one of Mzansi's more successful exports in the IT industry. But while certain sectors of society use the infrastructure to innovate, nationwide access to telecommunications for all citizens is still an issue of concern and growth. Deputy Minister Mkhize, thank you so much for making time for us today. So in comparison to the rest of Africa, where is our development sitting in terms of where are we ahead and where are we behind?
It's difficult to compare in terms of mobile services. Quite a number of regions have moved very strongly. They are adding value to access to mobiles, like they will have mobile money. So we have a competitive advantage. But of course, countries have not been relaxed and they've moved ahead. For instance, when it comes to digital migration, some of the countries there, they've moved ahead and they expect South Africa to carry them and to move along as well. So I think we're doing very well as a continent.
South Africa has acquitted itself reasonably well in terms of telephony and cellular networks, but we're still far behind nations like Japan, the US and the UK when it comes to broadband internet access and bandwidth. Fiber optic lines, which are much faster than ADSL, have been laid in urban locales throughout the country. But of course, a large amount of communities and homes who cannot afford the technology are still not on the grid. Minister, as you've mentioned, around the World Cup, South Africa was able to roll out fiber optics fairly quickly. But where are we sitting in terms of fiber optics and which communities can we next expect to see getting access?
So the immediate thing is to really capacitate our effort in ensuring that there's broadband penetration to the most rural areas. Some people already are benefiting, but in this country, the priority is those who are excluded completely, because for us to grow the economy of this country, we have to include as many people as possible.
Many communities are witnessing a technological revolution, with Wi-Fi and tech-equipped classrooms being rolled out as a result of partnerships between government agencies, NGOs and private companies. But slow line speeds make things hard for business and hinder access to online learning resources and opportunities for underprivileged youth. More important than the growth of ICT and broadband in South Africa is its integration into industries and government services such as healthcare, education, police services and other developmental areas. The ideas of young innovators who use ICT to solve national problems could well speed the process along.
It's critical in terms of our policy to make sure that as many people as possible are able to communicate and are connected. At least now, people in rural areas, about 98% of the people have a mobile phone. They might not use it for many functions that ideally they should use it for, but at least a woman in a village is able to access critical services like connection of schools, health facilities, municipalities, and so on.
We've come a long way from brick cell phones and that screeching sound your landline would make when connecting to the internet. But even one of South Africa's fastest growing industries needs some inspiration from young minds. With optimistic leadership and enthusiastic entrepreneurs, the rate of ICT growth in South Africa could go from megabytes to terabytes per second and beyond over the next few years.